You're listening to the 4-Phase Cycle podcast with your hosts, Dr. Alex and Megan of ZESTY Ginger. If you're looking to naturally balance hormones and learn how to work with your body instead of against it, you've definitely come to the right place. As a duo of an integrative MD and a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and best friends, we use the 4 phases of the female cycle in combination with functional lab work and mindset practices to transform the lives of the women we work with.
We also have a whole lot of fun along the way. If you're new around here, it's best to start with season 1 before jumping around and plan to roll up your sleeves. Showing up for ourselves and enjoying our lives is what good health is all about. Just a quick reminder though, this information is not intended to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your doctor before making changes.
Hello, beautiful soul. It's Alex here. Thank you for joining me again today on the podcast. Or if this is your first time, welcome. There's lots and lots of content for you. Today, I'm going to be talking about fighting for yourself. This is a big topic, and it's also something that I have been learning. So just like with everything here, once I get through sort of the confusion sometimes around certain topics or kind of just learning my own lessons around it, then I get to come on here and share it with you. And of course, that means that as we go, I'll be updating it. But it's what we got here or what we got now. And this concept of fighting for yourself and fighting for what you want is something that keeps coming up for me. And I do believe that, for me and for a lot of us, we're in that place where our path is bringing this up because many of us are choosing to stand in our power, to take responsibility for our life and what happens to it and not be at the mercy of external things, right? Whether it's the concept of being, the universe knows best or God knows best or your higher self knows best, or, it's not the right month for it, or astrology, or, my mom said, or 1,010 other things, beliefs that that's not for me, or people like me don't do that kind of stuff. Fill in the blank, but it's essentially all getting to the same thing of who is in charge, right? And how do you create the life experience that you want unwaveringly? And this has been coming up for me in my personal life on just about every topic that you can imagine. And really it has kept coming down to like, what are you creating, right? And what it looks like then is challenges to that, or hearing things from other people. For me, I love learning, I love reading, but the deal with that is that sometimes then you are reading, or most of the time, right, you're reading other people's thoughts and beliefs. So whatever filters, the preset filters of beliefs they hold around the world, around themselves, also come through, right? So you can be reading something and just enjoying some quiet time reading, and all of a sudden you come across something that challenges or sort of triggers something coming up. And I've noticed in the world just how much this tends to happen. And now that I'm really focusing on this, I'm amazed at how often this trigger has come up for me, but it's happened so much of like, oh, you need to wait for this, or you don't decide this, or you have to wait, and all of this stuff. It's come up so often that at some point it became less and less triggering, because really at the end of the day, what I decided was I am choosing what I want and what I am creating, and I am fighting for it until I get it, right? It's that has come through for me, and you may not be on the same trajectory or in the same spot on the journey, right? However, I think this is an important topic, no matter how it's coming up for you, to discuss, because there is a tendency, I think, a lot of times where we've gotten beat down enough, whether it's our conditioning, the kind of childhood we had and the things that happened to us, or adulthood frustrations and disappointments and, kind of quote unquote failed dreams that we have had, that over time we begin to wonder, are we really effective, right? How much fight do we have in us? And I'm not talking about fighting for things that are maybe not serving you, but for example, for health, right? There is no such thing as, you know, good health not serving you. Good health and well-being is our natural state and our birthright. Therefore, this is the scale that we're talking about, right? This is not something that can be denied. It can only be delayed, which is where fighting for it, I think, becomes really important. So I'll give you some examples, because even though it's been coming up for me, this came up really strongly from an external experience that I had that helped me to see this topic even more clearly. So this is one of those times where, when it's internal to you, I was learning what I needed to get from it, but I didn't think to do a podcast episode about it right now until I had this experience. And I was being interviewed for a podcast, and she was being very, open and vulnerable and sharing that she's been very frustrated with her health and what's going on, and she just feels like there's so much information out there, and there's programs, but they cost money, and all of this stuff that comes into play. And because of that, then we really got started on this whole topic of, what are you willing to do to fight for what you want and what you deserve and what you have chosen, which is really, from our experience of life, making the choice is what we're here for, and then playing that choice out, right? Having it, experiencing it, and then deciding, are we going to choose that, or are we choosing differently? And over you go, but choice is at the heart of it, right? The freedom to make the decision, and then you keep making the choice, right? Once we really want it, and we're saying, I'm committed to making the choice, then fighting for it is making the choice every single day, whether you're frustrated and fed up with it, or it's not happening, or other people are telling you it's not possible. The choice is kind of what the fight looks like, to make it again and again and again, and to not give up on it and not make ourselves small. And there were a couple, as we were having this discussion, there were a couple things that came up. For example, the need to do it right. One of the things that she was saying was like, well, I want to do stuff, but I don't know if it's the right stuff to do, right? And I was asking what had kept her from doing something like listening to our podcast, right? She had been on our social media, but never went back and listened to the foundational content that we have that literally teach about the body and addressing the very things that she was talking about wanting to address and saying she was very committed to. And ultimately in that discussion, she was kind of like, it's the wondering if that's the right thing, and not even giving myself the allowance to explore something in case it isn't, right? That it's kind of loss of fight for that, because you're giving up on the outcome before you even get there. And there's lots of times in my life that I've done this, not for health, but for other things, where I hit some bumps like that, and all of a sudden I'm like, this is my cue to, not be sure, feel confused, not have clarity around it. But really, if I'm the one that says I want it, I'm the one that also has to keep wanting it and keep choosing to fight for it. And if that means doing something in a way that, is quote unquote a mistake or takes me down a path, then the choice to then choose again and to do it differently over and over and over again until you get it. And some of the examples that came up for health, and just say this isn't like a pie in the sky type of thing. This isn't, oh, it's wishful thinking and whatever. This is the kind of stuff that happens, right? There are two instances for me that I can point to where this is the way it looks. You've heard about my chronic pain story, right? For years and years and years and years, I had widespread chronic pain. I'm a fellowship trained pain doctor, so this is what I got trained in. And the conventional thinking and everything that every provider had ever told me was that chronic pain is the type that I had is a state of the central nervous system, and that is what my life was going to be like, and it was going to come down to managing it, right? It took me a long time. As you know, if you've been around for a while, we're talking coming up to 2 decades. And yet I was able to heal that, right? Same thing for the premature ovarian failure. I was told you got 6 months and then you're going into menopause and there's nothing you can do about it. And I said, that's a choice. What else is my choice? And I chose to heal, and my ovarian reserve rose, my period never went away, and my hormones are better now than they ever have been. That is the kind of stuff that's possible when you have the fight in you to make the choice. This isn't fighting the world. It's not even fighting ourselves. It's fighting for us, right? Not against something. We're fighting for us, for yourself, for your life, and for all the things that you value in it. This is, I think, vitally important into the equation of empowerment, because we do all these amazing things for ourselves and say, it's part of our empowerment. I'm learning to set boundaries. I'm learning to speak up. I'm learning to put myself out there and all of this stuff. The part where you get to determine what happens, even if you don't get to pick how or how long it takes, that's the choice we get to have at the core of our empowerment. Because once you decide inside as your identity that you are worthy and you are deserving and you are capable enough of never giving up on yourself and the things that you want, that empowerment will help fuel anything we wish to do, whether it's the health stuff like the stories that I was describing, relationship things that you want to move, you want a different job, you want a different relationship with a partner you already have and want to keep, with your kids, with how you interact with employees. It does not matter. That knowing of ourselves says, I will have the things that are worthy of me, is a pretty sweet place to be. And so I encourage you, if you haven't been, mulling this over, to check it out. Where are you at with that? Where's the fight? How do you feel about it? Now, this is not, even though the word is fight, this isn't anger. It is determination. It is perseverance. It is putting one foot in front of the other, because the belief in yourself is there, right? So we don't need to get all huffed up, even though we can, if that's the step. I know I had plenty of times where I had to rage a little bit to really feel into that knowing of like, I'm willing to fight for this no matter what. And that is at the core of me, the identity which I hold. So fill in the blank of whatever I want to create now, 20 years from now, that's who I am, right? That is neutral energetically and empowering and can be positive. But if we need to process some emotions, which is, another way of saying we're essentially working through and letting go of the things that have kept us small, that has made us doubt, that has left us wondering, can I even accomplish this, right? You can and you will. If you decide, you can and you will, right? And you will not stop. Frustration along the way, I will say, the reframe that has been so helpful is to essentially say, every time that's challenged, this is my practice for making the choice over and over. And you will notice for yourself, the same way I did, just like any other practice, like self-love or getting good at knowing what foods work for you, whatever it is, the things that come up are a time to say, I see you, doubt, however it comes. I still make this choice. And now you make it more powerfully and intentionally, because now you've had the opportunity. In the beginning, sometimes that would knock me out for 2 or 3 days. And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm still fighting for it. And now it's like within minutes, I could see something or come across something or someone, unsolicited advice is everywhere sometimes. And they can come in, I can see it. Even if it irks me a little bit, at some point, I'm like, yeah, that's just a reminder to say, like, I do not make that choice. I'm making this one instead. And that is me fighting for me. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are around this. Please share with me, email us, DM us, and of course, screenshot and share your ahas, and we'll continue the conversations in the stories. All right, sending you lots of love, and I'll catch you next time.
Thanks for coming out to hang with us on the podcast. It is our goal to transform the way women are treated in healthcare. And we need your help. We need your help to get the word out. We have a lofty goal of 1 million downloads. And we know that as this podcast grows, we're going to be able to reach more women, get more amazing speakers for you, and bring the most cutting-edge information.
If you found these podclasses helpful, please take a moment to text 5 women you know the link to the series. We appreciate your help so much. Can't wait to see you next time.